Now, welcome to another news from Naboo with Thor's Lightning Takes, as always. And let us get right to the news.
Though before we get started, you forgot, we're doing Kenobi Countdown stuff.
Oh, Kenobi Countdown.
Yeah, we've got 9 days.
9? That's impossible.
9 days. 8 till Celebration, 9 till Kenobi.
That doesn't seem possible.
Okay, you don't have to watch it. You can have as many days before you watch it as you
I'll
like.
be there at 2 a.m. Central Time watching as it premieres.
Okay. Alright, speaking of Kenobi then, let's move on to the articles. Ewan McGregor did an interview with Empire about coming back to Obi-Wan in his new appreciation. During this interview, Ewan was sharing his enthusiasm about coming back to Star Wars. He even said a couple of years ago, the enthusiasm of young fans he met at a theater, like they were doing a full Star Wars marathon there, they really started him coming around to the idea of playing Obi-Wan again. He was introducing Episode 3, and he was in awe of the love he received from the fans when he arrived. I mean, they're all there, they're cheering for him, screaming for him, and they're younger. You know, people who are newer to Star Wars, but
not
you know,
anymore.
they didn't watch
then.
they didn't see the prequels in the same, time
Well,
when they
were
all
kids
came
when
out.
the prequels came out, yeah.
He got really pumped off of that. He was excited. So that when Disney finally approached him and said that they had a story and were going to go ahead, he was excited. He got loosely involved in some notes and some drafts, story ideas and such. He was a little bit involved in stuff, which is great that he cared enough for that.
So thank a prequel fan for the Kenobi, or blame them if it turns out horrible, since it seems like Ewan was energized to do Star Wars again by them.
The original ideas they talked to him about for the series, which at the time was going to be a movie, taking somebody we know is an example of what the Jedi stand for. Somebody who's on the Jedi Council and is respected, to take them to a place where we've never seen them before. He's guilt-ridden that he's lost Anakin to the dark side. All his close spiritual friends, Yoda, everyone's gone into hiding, so he's lost. Then Deborah Chow became the director, and she took the project in 2 different directions because it shifted from a movie to a series, so that the storyline had to shift accordingly. Ewan goes on to tell us about Kenobi at the start of the series. We get to see Obi-Wan without his power. He's been out of the game, he's totally rusty at the beginning, and he has to make the decision of whether he's going to try to get back to where he was or not.
Interesting.
That bothers me a little, yes.
Why does it sound like they're just describing The Last Jedi? I mean, that's what The Last Jedi was like, right?
But it's just so weird because we saw the clip in the trailer of he's like, the boy must be trained. Well, how's he going to train him if he's been rusty this whole time and hasn't been practicing or hasn't been following Yoda's advice and trying to commune with Qui-Gon?
Yeah, I don't understand what they're... not that I don't understand, but I think I understand what they're going to do with this, and it almost feels too familiar to The Last Jedi. That's one of the reasons I would have... if not that I have any sort of say in the matter or that I wouldn't have done what they did with The Last Jedi. Because if you want to do a story like that of a Jedi who has kind of lost their way and has just had tragedy after tragedy, I mean, that's Kenobi's story. You can do that with Kenobi. And I'm not saying you have to make him give up on the Jedi and think they should end. But if you want to go that kind of, deconstruction route and use a character to do it, I think Kenobi makes more sense than Luke. Because we know he's going to be in a pretty rough spot at some point in time, right? You got to figure 20 years in the desert, thinking about everything that went wrong with Anakin and the Jedi and how maybe you have some blame and regrets, it's a much better story there than what they try to do with Luke. So it's funny to hear them kind of describing it in almost the same way that they went with The Last Jedi. And I don't know. But going back to the prequel fans, I've always said there are certainly fans who didn't like the prequels, sure. But the problem is the media back in the day did not like the prequels, so they controlled the story, just like they control the story with the sequel trilogy now. It's always, the sequel trilogy is beloved by most of the fans. It's a small, angry minority that doesn't like them. But back in the day, it was the opposite with the prequels. It was, the majority of fans didn't like them. It's only that small minority that does. So I don't know what the percentages are of fans who liked and didn't like the prequels. I don't know what the percentages are of the sequels, but it's always this, pitch this narrative that they were hated back in. They weren't hated back in the day. I was in my early 20s to mid 20s when the prequels came out. Most people I knew or talked to online, because I was heavily on Star Wars forums back in the day. And granted, probably people who hated them wouldn't come into the forums, but mostly it was generally positive around the films from the fan base. Yes, there were the people who didn't like them, but I don't know that it was anything like we want to believe. Like if they had come out today, it would have been, sequel trilogy hate all over again with the prequels. I think they were mainly liked by a lot of people, and then there were the people who didn't, which is fine. Just like there are people who like the sequels and don't. So it's always whoever's saying it tries to control that narrative. And unfortunately, back in the day, the narrative was just completely controlled by the media, who just insisted most fans didn't like these films.
Yeah, I agree. All right, we'll move on to the next article. The Kenobi press tour made their stop in London, and they added just another little tidbit about the upcoming show. So, Moses Ingram, who plays Reva, had this to say. She's very ruthless, and I keep saying the same thing, but it's true, you know. She doesn't care about what people think about in the way that she does things. She'll cut people down, and I think she's going to get the job done, whatever it takes. I really enjoy actors who seem to have a passion for their character, and I can't wait to see her in action. But what do you think about what she's got to say about Reva?
I mean, that she should be that way, right? She's a Sith who only thinks and worries about herself. To hear a Sith say that they don't worry about what other people think about them is kind of a... not contradictory isn't the word, but it's kind of like, well, a given, right?
But does she also compare this to how the other Inquisitors think about her? I mean, Inquisitors are very, as we've seen from the show, they're competitive. They want the top spot. They want to be the first out of... They'll compete with each other to hunt down
they're
Jedi.
Sith, right?
So
I mean, they're not Sith, but they want to be Sith.
If
so
this
of course.
ruthlessness she's talking about is saying that she's going to be ruthless against the other Inquisitors.
That wouldn't... I mean, I understand what she's saying, and she gets into that part of her character, which is great. But I mean, that doesn't... As someone who feels like they understand the Sith and the Inquisitors, like, well, yeah, they should be kind of ruthless. They shouldn't care about what the other Inquisitors... They should be competitive and even willing to strike down another Inquisitor, right? You think Vader would be upset if one of the other Inquisitors failed, or if an Inquisitor failed and another one was like, oh, you do deserve to die? You think he's going to be like, oh, they shouldn't have done that? No, he's going to be... That's the world of the Sith, right?
It's like a highly competitive CEO business.
It would make a great reality show. I mean, yeah. I'm going to pitch that one to Disney Plus as soon as I'm done here. Like an Inquisitor reality show where there can only be one. Highlander meets the Inquisitors.
Can we call it Cutthroat Castle?
Yeah, Cutthroat Vader's Castle. How about that? Can we call it? We'll put them all in the castle.
Vader's Cutthroat Castle.
The last one to come out is Vader's New Apprentice.
He's their host.
I don't know. I think we got a great idea there. But seriously, I mean, I'm glad she's into the character. That's awesome. But, well, yeah, of course Inquisitors aren't going to care what others think. Of course they're going to be ultra competitive and, butt heads with the other Inquisitors. It's
nice, though, because it's also giving the audience who maybe didn't watch Rebels, a look at what Inquisitors are meant to be.
I hope it goes deeper. I mean, even in Rebels, they're kind of a little too buddy-buddy, you could say. You don't really get that, that competitive element in there. But in the comics and some of the other places, you kind of get a little more of they're not, they're going to do what they got to do to impress Vader because they all think they're going to be, the next Sith somehow.
Right. It's like their main drive is to hunt and kill Jedi. That's their purpose. That's all they think about. They want to be the one who gets the kill.
Yeah, they want to impress Vader is essentially it because they think they can, eventually catch his eye and be his apprentice and,
possibly take his place.
Well, yeah, we'll either take his place or help him take down Palpatine and then eventually take... That's how the Sith work. They always want to be the one. And again, Inquisitors are not Sith, but they are Sith wannabes.
I'm almost curious if we'll see her take a jab at the Grand Inquisitor.
Possibly. Maybe the Grand Inquisitor is the one who kills her. I mean, I know there are a lot of rumors, like really spoiler... I have no idea. We haven't... No, there's a lot of spoiler-ish rumors or leaks out there about this, which I've avoided, though. I'll take the little leaks, but when they're literally dissecting the entire plot and story, I tend to avoid those. So I know there are a lot of leaks and rumors out there about her, so I'm curious if she will eventually be killed by one of the Inquisitors or who's going to do what, because we know she's not going to be around come Rebels. At least we're pretty sure she's not.
Well, we don't. Yeah, again, we don't know that for certain because because she didn't go after Ahsoka doesn't mean that she wasn't out there doing.
True, because there are multiple.
She could still be out there hunting Kenobi. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
All right, let's continue the Kenobi train here. One more article on Kenobi today. Lightsabers were revealed. So Disney's Twitter account kind of made a fun little game to quote unquote find the important lightsabers from the upcoming series. It was like you hearts it and then you look around and stuff. Yeah, I skipped some of that and just found the images.
Can I just see what they look like? Do I have to go through the runaround?
Yeah, so there are 5 to collect in total, and I have the images. They're going to come up on the screen one by one so everyone can see them. Of course, first we see Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber, which it's not even the first time we saw it. It was on the cover of one of the article issues. I don't even remember which one off the top of my head, so I've shown it to you before. Next up, we have Darth Vader's. Again, saber we're very familiar
Yep.
with. It's nice to see it, but we already knew it was coming. Now we get to see something new and interesting. We have Reva's saber. We know that Inquisitor sabers, because I kind of was looking at different images myself, Inquisitor sabers are very interesting. They're dual-bladed. We've never seen one that wasn't a dual blade.
Maybe not.
I believe all Inquisitor sabers run
Yeah,
dual
they
blade because
usually-
they were modeled after Darth Maul's saber.
Yeah, they're all wannabe Mauls.
They are all wannabe Mauls.
They're just a bunch of wannabes. That's all
Wannabe
Inquisitors
Mauls,
are.
yeah. But the circle sections on those, as we saw in Rebels, was retractable. So I mean, in the trailer, you see she just has like the straight stick. In this image, you see the half circle. But we've also in like a new image of her with the full circle around the saber, because those things do retract and disconnect. So you can, I guess, have the freedom to choose how you'd like your saber to be.
The Transformer sabers is what
For
it looks
those
like.
who don't know, these sabers can spin.
Well, I think we all know they can spin. You can even fly with the things.
Saber copters. Oh, that was the worst thing ever.
I hope we see it in Kenobi.
No way.
I'm kidding.
No way. We're
We'll
not
never
getting any
see
more
that
Mary
again.
Poppins.
We've had enough Mary Poppins in Star Wars.
All right. Next up, we're going to see the Fifth Brothers saber, which we've seen in animation, but never in live action. It looks pretty traditional, standard. It's got that extra hilt detail on it. It's nice. And as for another saber we've never seen in live action, last but not least, of course, is the Grand Inquisitor's lightsaber.
Maybe at one point he like shaves his head with it or something, and it just gets a little narrower. I'm kidding, of course, but
Fifth Sister Saber is not in the promotional game here. Either maybe she's not a huge character in the show, maybe she never pulls her lightsaber out. We have no idea. She might literally just be a force-sensitive tracker and not really specialize in combat. We have no idea.
well, maybe she gets killed by Reva too early, backstabbed for failing, and there we go.
Whew,
It all
who can
comes
say?
together. We've linked our stories together.
Oh, you're impossible. All
I
right,
don't know. I think that makes sense.
now I'm just going to move on now. A new rumor has emerged about the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order. As we've been hearing over and over through the rumor chain, that the title will not be Fallen Order 2. A new rumor suggesting the game's title will be Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Well, it makes sense. A lot of people have pointed out in the comments that Fallen Order is the title of that game, whereas
Right.
Jedi: is the series name. Yes.
Absolutely. This tip is coming from industry insider Jeff Grubb, who is about 99% accurate with his leaked information. Jeff also claims
99, it's a good batting average.
he also claims that it will have a panel or at least new information on the game. Supposedly a trailer is supposed to be revealed at Celebration, though we've got no confirmation of them adding in that panel or information yet, but I really do hope so, seeing as they're saying the game is supposed to release next year.
How could there not be a Lucasfilm Games panel at Celebration? That just makes no sense to me. I mean, they just, the last year or year and a half, whatever it is, they just kind of resurrected Lucas. Well, it used to be LucasArts, of course, and now it's Lucasfilm Games. It's just a little different because they're not making their own games. But you would think you would have a panel for the, your new kind of company.
It would definitely be appreciated.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on. We've got 2 more stories to cover today. The cover for the upcoming Princess and the Scoundrel book was revealed. I think it's beautiful. I love the colors. But it kind of, in another sense, reminds me a little bit of a romance novel.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's selling the little Halcyon Star Cruiser, right?
Oh yeah, they put that up on the corner in the cover because, of course, we can't leave out the most important thing in the whole book.
Yeah, to come to the Halcyon and spend your money here. You can sleep in the same room Han and Leia
No.
did.
All right, for a reminder, the book comes out August 16th. It's going to take place after the events of Return of the Jedi and will feature the wedding of Han and Leia, among other things, we're sure. But what's interesting, the bottom right corner, very interesting, it seems to show some stormtroopers visiting Elsa's castle from Frozen, right? Or maybe just a new icy location.
Oh, crossover, huh?
Well, it definitely looks kind of crystalline or icy. That is possibly a new location to explore.
Well, I mean,
and there's
yeah.
stormtroopers there, so yay, new
Exciting.
stuff. You sound excited.
I'm not thrilled for this book now.
Okay, then it's time to move on to your favorite segment of the week. New this week in Star Wars. So this week coming out, we've got Marvel Comics bringing us 2 new books. Dr. Aphra 20 will be coming out. This is continuing a story where Sana and Aphra will stumble into a ritual to uncover the Spark Eternal. which I think has something to do with the Sith Eternal because they all say Eternal. I have no idea. I've actually not been reading it.
Yeah, you haven't been reading.
But it's almost more funny to hear me say stuff. And
yeah, your speculation is better than probably the actual book. But hey.
Excellent. All right, and finally we also have Han Solo and Chewbacca #2, where for the first time ever we're going to see Han's father, who is a Corellian shipbuilder.
Or are we? I think it's someone just pretending to be Han's father.
No, because Han seeks him out.
He doesn't really seek him out. He runs into him in a bar, in the cantina, whatever we call them in Star Wars.
But he thinks it's his dad.
Yeah, but Han's been sent after something, and so is this guy, and they're gonna... We'll see. We will see. My guess...
I'm surprised that we're going to see Han's dad at all, honestly, or that Han's dad would be alive, because Han ran with seemed to be, like, in a gang. Not in a gang. He was he was kind of almost I'm going to say indentured servant to the...
We're not allowed to say the other word in Star Wars. Yeah.
I don't know. That word does not exist. Force volunteer.
Yes.
He and his buddy, Kira, they worked down there collecting and, turning in money and stuff, and got to survive for the white worms. Yeah. So I'm not sure what the heck was going on. I thought his parents were dead, that he was like a street abandoned orphan and got taken in by the white worms to survive.
That's kind of,
if his dad's still alive, that's an entirely new story, isn't it?
It will be.
Yeah, because you're like, well, how come his dad his dad's just so busy doing his Corellian freighter shipyard work that he's like, I don't really care.
That's dedication to your crappy job.
It's very awkward.
Like I said, my guess is that it'll be revealed that it's not really his father. Wah, wah, wah. We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see.
Who knows? All right, well, I guess that's all we got for you this time. So take to the comments below and tell us what you thought of any of today's stories. And let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.